after the Beatles, rock and roll was not just about the little 45. It was about the album. It was about buying a body of work. Rock and roll becomes an art form.
The Beatles came in and said, hey, we write our own stuff, we choose our producer, we get our record label, we do what we want to do.
La influencia de la banda también se vio en leyendas del rock a las que ellos habían idolatrado mientras crecían. Al principio algunos de estos íconos se mostraron un tanto escépticos.
I called my wife and told her, I said, you know them four little boys sing that, yeah, 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 my kids go around the house, I want to hold your hand, and yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, yo, them little boys look like girls, man. But them little girls turned my life around.
Perkins hizo una gira con la banda en los 60. Los novatos luego grabaron 3 de sus canciones y pudieron intercambiar impresiones con la leyenda.
I'm sitting on the floor with a rhythm guitar, John, Paul, George, and Ringo sitting on a couch asking me how I kicked off certain old Sun songs, and George would say, see, I told you guys, we've been doing it in G. I told you it was E. Songs like Honey Don't.
I looked around one day and in the chart there was a Bobby V and a Bobby Denton and a Bobby here and a Bobby there, and then there was Bobby's on the top 5. So I called up my boys, the Beatles, and they took care of them.
It took the British invasion to get us interested in our own music. The British bands, the Beatles, they recognized Carl Perkins and Johnny Cash and Roy Orbison and all these guys, and made it accessible to teenagers because we all wanted to be cool here. So it's like country music in a lot of ways was sort of like, nah, I can't listen to country music because then I'll be considered some old like redneck guy or whatever. It took the guys in England in these bands to let us know that our own stuff was cool and not to be ashamed of it.
They came over and just took this country and the world by storm. It changed the complexion of the technology in terms of what was used, guitars. The whole style of music changed.
I Want to Hold Your Hand brought that beat back, and that's what rock and roll had been about.
Suele decirse que quien recuerda los 60 no los vivió. Una excepción a la regla es el recuerdo de la noche del 9 de febrero de 1964, cuando la banda hizo su histórica presentación en el programa de Ed Sullivan.
Well, the Ed Sullivan Show were the days when people had one television set, the whole family gathered around, and you'd go from the Beatles to Maria Callas to Topo Gigio, so there was always something for somebody.
I can remember the next day, actually February 10th, 1964, I bothered my father and mother till I said, please, I have to have a guitar. So it turned a lot of people into musicians. I know that for a fact.
But like most musicians from that era that I know of, you always fantasized about being, seeing what the Beatles did, and going through all that.
The Beatles was probably a big influence. Whoever was playing rhythmically, I loved all that.
Bandas como The Mamas and the Papas eran las más escuchadas con clásicos como California Dreaming y Monday Monday. Eran la esperanza estadounidense contra la invasión británica, pero también fueron hechizados por el sonido de los Beatles.
Of the Beatles.
Denny said, put these earphones on, okay? They played me like the first 2 Beatle albums. And he started listening to this music, and then he would start playing it himself, listening to it himself. And then Cass came over, and she loved the Beatles. They're English. So she started ramming John with the Beatles, the sounds, these harmonies, these counterpoint and all this stuff.
There was a definite feeling of competition between the Beach Boys and the Beatles, but it was more like an inspired tennis match. You hit one and the person returns it, and if it's a good volley, there was a good volley going on there for a few years in the 60s. Rubber Soul got Brian thinking about Pet Sounds, got the Beatles, Paul McCartney and John Lennon thinking about Sgt. Pepper's. So there was definitely a really nice interplay between the groups.
The Beatles were a great influence on us, and not only were they a great group, they were singing their own songs. They were writing, they were being innovative, they were bringing out single after single that was different to the last. They weren't following a set pattern. No, that was I Want to Hold Your Hand. Let's do one like I Want to Hold Your Hand. They didn't do that. They kept everything different.
I can remember hearing I Want to Hold Your Hand being played on the radio for the first time that I heard it. And I remember driving down Ventura Boulevard thinking, boy, I'd love to be one of the Beatles.
Who is Frank Sinatra? Well, let me tell you who Frank Sinatra is. I hope the Beatles in 20 years are as famous as Frank Sinatra.
Eso fue en 1964. 40 años después, una encuesta indica que el 95% de los estadounidenses identifican al menos a un Beatle. Son los terceros artistas más populares del mundo del espectáculo, después de Steven Spielberg y Oprah Winfrey.
The Beatles, their music grows in stature with every passing year, whereas the other ones who keep coming back and, should we dare we say, stain the image? Because you can never be as good as you were unless you add things.
The test of time has proven that, you know, it's just unbelievable the wealth of material and the quality of that songwriting.
The resurgence of Beatlemania among a new audience at this time is actually a really interesting phenomenon.
So I've been doing the tours now for about 12 years, and at that time I've taken around 100,000 people, 8,000 people a year, so it's still alive and well, Beatlemania.
I have a lot of kids coming in, mainly teenagers, and the older boomers, the established boomers that have a lot of discretionary income that they can, you know, buy the fancy autographs and stuff like that. So it's a wide demographic from the young to the old. It's nice to see that, to kind of keep, you know, this thing alive from, you know, generation to generation.
Hello? I'm most attached to the things I had when I was, the original dolls I had when I was a kid. I think those are the things that hold the most sentimental value for me anyways, and I would never part with those things in a million years.
There's a manner in which every boomer is part Beatle.
We've gone through the 80s, we've gone through the me generation, gone through the search for the BMWs and all that, and that's not what it's about. You know, it's about that essence that came through in that music.
It's a connection for people of my generation. I was really aware of how important all of that was, that we were fortunate to be alive at a moment when something was happening to so many young women at the same time.
It was an amazing time, it really was.
My name's Paul, this is Ringo, John, George. Good night.